Hey everyone, welcome back to BeRelevant. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here. For the next 10 minutes or so, I want you to think of me as your personal financial coach, because today we are going through a comprehensive explainer on one of the most famous and frankly, sometimes polarizing personal finance books of all time. We're going to master the core principles of building true wealth and financial stability by breaking down the foundational lessons from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So let's dive right into this and unlock the strategies that can actually change the trajectory of your financial life.
All right, let's quickly look at our syllabus for today's masterclass. We'll be covering the wealth management mindset, assets versus personal liabilities, building true financial intelligence, the cash flow quadrant explained, navigating criticisms and controversies, and finally wrapping up with practical takeaways for today.
Section 1. The Wealth Management Mindset. Two Fathers, Two Philosophies.
So, the whole philosophy of wealth in this book is actually built on a really fascinating semi-autobiographical parable. It contrasts two very different father figures in post-war Hawaii. On one side, we have the poor dad. This is based on the author's biological dad, Ralph Kiyosaki. Now, he was a highly educated guy, a literal PhD who really prioritized academic credentialing, job security, and pensions. His core belief? He honestly thought the love of money was the root of all evil. But despite making a great income, he was always struggling financially. Then you flip the script and you have the rich dad, based on an entrepreneur named Richard Kimi. He actually dropped out of formal schooling early, but went on to build this massive real estate and hotel empire. His worldview was totally different. He believed the lack of money is the root of all evil. It's a powerful lesson because it shows us how prioritizing traditional degrees over private enterprise and financial literacy can sometimes trap even the most successful professionals in a total paycheck-to-paycheck cycle.
And that brings us to the absolutely crucial takeaway of this whole concept. The rich don't work for money. They make their money work for them. As your coach today, I really need you to internalize this one. You see, the poor and middle class, they sell their time and labor for a paycheck. But wealthy folks, they completely shift their mindset. They focus on acquiring systems and opportunities that just keep generating income, totally independent of their daily grind.
Section 2. Assets versus personal liabilities. The cash flow rule.
Listen up, because this is probably the single most important lesson of your financial education today. Literally, a game changer. In traditional accounting, an asset might just be, well, something you own. But in our pragmatic masterclass today, an asset is only something that generates positive cash inflow. It literally puts money directly into your pocket. A liability, on the flip side, is anything that incurs expenses and pulls cash out of your pocket. The whole reason so many hardworking middle-class families get stuck in the rat race is simply because they mistake expensive personal liabilities for actual assets.
Let's put this into perspective. You probably think your primary residence is your biggest asset, right? Well, under the strict cash flow rule, it's actually a liability because it constantly drains your cash through mortgage payments, property taxes, maintenance, and, that sudden mysterious plumbing emergency that always seems to happen. It takes money out. A luxury car? Yep, also a liability. Now look at the other side of the equation. True assets are things like a rental property that pays its own mortgage and still hands you leftover profit every single month, or dividend-paying stocks that passively drop cash right into your account. The reality is, buying income-generating properties is what builds true wealth, while acquiring luxury goods and massive primary homes just compounds your debt.
Section 3. Building true financial intelligence. The 4 pillars.
So just knowing what an asset is isn't quite enough. You actually have to overcome those massive psychological barriers of fear and laziness to go out and acquire them. And to do that, you need to develop what the source material calls financial IQ. This is built on 4 very specific pillars. Number 1 is accounting. This is the language of business. You have to be able to read a balance sheet and understand exactly where the cash is flowing. Number 2 is investing. This is the strategy, the science of making your money work for you. Number 3 is market awareness. This is essential, guys. You've got to understand the economic forces of supply and demand, figure out what people actually need, and spot those opportunities before anyone else does. And finally, number 4, the law. This means understanding how corporate structures and the tax code can be used to legally protect your wealth and minimize your tax burden. When you start combining basic accounting with sharp market awareness and tax knowledge, well, that's when you open up some truly incredible financial options for yourself.
Section 4. The cash flow quadrant explained, where income comes from.
Now, this is an absolutely vital framework. It categorizes exactly how different people earn their money. Let's look at the left side of the quadrant first. This is active income. The E stands for employee.
Basically, you have a job and you trade your time for money. The S stands for self-employed. Here, you essentially just own a job, and the catch is, if you stop working, the money stops flowing. Now, let's jump over to the right side. This is where passive income lives. The C stands for corporation or business owner. You own a system and other people's labor works for you. And finally, the I stands for investor, where your money does all the heavy lifting. The huge takeaway here is that employees and self-employed individuals are getting hit with the highest tax burdens and have the absolute least leverage. Meanwhile, business owners and investors are using legal corporate structures to minimize their tax liabilities and compound their wealth exponentially.
Section 5. Navigating Criticisms and Controversies, a Pragmatic Reality Check. All right, as your coach, it is my absolute duty to give you a pragmatic reality check right now. Because the truly smart investor evaluates risks impartially, right? You have to critically question even your most inspiring sources. And the truth is, the advice from the Rich Dad brand is definitely not universally accepted. Actually, it's faced some really severe pushback from established financial experts. Just take a look at this scathing quote from real estate expert and Harvard Business School MBA, John T. Reed. He says, "Rich Dad, Poor Dad is one of the dumbest financial advice books I have ever read. It contains many factual errors and numerous extremely unlikely accounts." Critics heavily argue that the book's advice on taking on heavy debt leverage to force asset purchases, along with some pretty questionable tax tactics, can be highly dangerous. For inexperienced investors, it could literally lead to financial ruin.
And it doesn't stop there. The corporate brand itself has been tangled up in some pretty significant legal controversies over the years. We're talking about a $14.6 million judgment awarded to the Learning Annex after a breach of contract, which actually led to Rich Global LLC filing for corporate bankruptcy. Plus, there have been class action lawsuits filed by customers alleging sales scams. They claim that the brand's low-cost $199 seminars were basically just high-pressure funnels designed to sell useless courses, costing up to almost $65,000. So why are we reviewing all this? To reinforce a vital lesson in critical thinking. You absolutely need to absorb the sound financial principles, like buying assets and mastering cash flow, but you must strictly avoid the highly risky advice, over-leveraged debt, and those predatory upsells.
Section 6. Practical Takeaways for Today. Applying the Masterclass.
Let's bring this coaching session home, guys. How do we practically and safely use these core truths in our day-to-day lives? First off, acquire cash-flowing assets. Stop buying liabilities that just drain your pockets and start focusing your energy on things that pay you every single month. Second, pay yourself first. Direct your income straight into that asset column before you blow it all on living expenses. And third, leverage your financial literacy. Learn the accounting, study the market, and figure out how to legally protect your wealth. The ultimate goal here is steady asset accumulation and real financial education. We are for sure not chasing speculative, get-rich-quick schemes.
So that leaves us with one final question. Which of these financial principles will you apply to your life starting today? I want you to make a commitment to yourself right now. If you found value in this BeRelevant explainer today, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, give this explainer a like, and share it with a friend who might need a bit of a financial reality check. And most importantly, I want you to comment down below. Tell me exactly which principle you're going to use to make a real financial change in your life today. Also, be sure to check out the other informative and practical content on our channel. Remember, every single dollar that passes through your hands is a choice. Are you building a life of true wealth or just buying a much more expensive spot in the rat race? Keep building that financial intelligence, and I will see you in the next one.